Hi. Hey, Mitchell Levy, global credibility expert, and we are at one of my favorite times of every day. And I don't get to do this every day. So when I get to talk to a super powerful, super cool human who's a leader, and we're talking about their values. Let me welcome Chrissy McGarry. Welcome.
Hi, Mitchell. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great, thank you. Even better that we get to spend a little bit of time together. So
I
I
know I'm
appreciate you
excited.
joining me.
Thank you for the opportunity. It's good to be here.
You you're welcome. You're welcome. So for this show, it's kind of simple. I just throw the ball in the air and have it land on you and say, Chrissy, who are you?
Easy enough, right? Except it's such a big, broad question, but I'll get right to it. I am the proud wife of Matt. I have two little boys, Leo and Michael, and I also happen to be a COO of a defense tech startup.
Hmm. By the way, I can't think of first of all, clarity. You were able to really shrink that in. And it's fascinating. When I ask that question, I always think the most important is, well, who are you? Like, what's your life?
Mhm.
And uh, and you were talking a little bit in the green room that the boys are doing a lot of hockey stuff, and your 2-year-old is on skates, and that's very cool.
It's a lot of fun. Keeps us busy and full. Doing activities here in Michigan, ice skating, getting out at the rink. It's got to be one of them since it's winter, a little bit longer during the year.
So, tell me a little bit about the firm,
Yeah.
and then we'll talk about how you play in the firm.
Yes. So Second Front Systems is a national security software company. We have a DevSecOps platform that helps to streamline the accreditation process for commercial technology to run and operate on government networks. So, in order for commercial tech to be utilized by our government and our allies, they have to have what's called an authority to operate, which is an accreditation, so that it can run on certain impact levels, certain networks within the government. I'll stop there and answer any questions because I know that that was a little bit of a mouthful.
No, it's as I'm thinking about and talking to one of my clients runs a university, and we often think about the accreditation facility, a third party entity who
Hmm.
basically validates that the if it's a university that the school is teaching what they say they're teaching. If it's a organization like yours, is the fact that the entity is legitimate to be put on a government
Right.
technology
So
platform.
we right. So we help to ensure that the application is secure for the government to utilize. So we adhere to all the government regulations and requirements, and we help that commercial application go through the pipeline properly, so that government users can utilize and access what they otherwise wouldn't have access to. Right?
Nice. All right.
Yeah.
So the firm itself, physical office or virtual or both?
So we are actually a fully remote company and have been since the beginning of time. It's neat. It's a neat story. So 10 years ago, three former Marines came together to start Second Front. And what started out originally as kind of a consultative services company that then white labeled a product, our original product called the Atlas Fulcrum. And then it was about 2 years ago where we made a pivot and a shift, because what we recognized was, through the consultative services and then through the software as a service that we originally had, the real pain point was not understanding what technology was out there and not necessarily assessing it, but rather the ability to access it and to utilize it as swiftly as possible for national security missions. So with that in mind, we went out into the market, and it's been 2 years now that Game Warden has been running and operating. We have over 40 plus applications now that are in Game Warden, and probably now over 15,000 unique government users that have now been able to utilize various commercial applications that otherwise they didn't have access to. So it's been cool to, in a short amount of time, turn around the organization as a whole. And yeah, today I just shared with you too, we announced our Series B, which is really exciting. Led by NEA. It was $40 million B round.
Nice. I want to make an observation.
Yes.
And what's really interesting, if you're listening or watching, right, is when you feel Chrissy's conversation, you feel who she is. She's saying the stuff that other people do. You were able to put the product name in there. You're able to put the company name in there and put in some highlights. But you know what? I didn't feel like you were doing it from a marketing perspective. You were just filling in the blanks of other things, right? And it's so surprising when you come in with your heart to any conversation, you can fill in the blanks so people can hear it. But what you're really doing is delivering value. And so I just want to say thank you. And I was just want to do that live. So
appreciate that, Michelle. Thanks.
All right. So let's spend a moment talking about a fully virtual company, because for some, it's very interesting going for Series B, $40 million Series B, and you're completely virtual. Did you have any pushback on that by the VCs or?
No, mainly because we've put some mechanisms in place that have ensured that we do remain collaborative, aligned, in lockstep as we continue to grow and scale. So because we were remote before the COVID days, none of this working remote and the ability to hop on a plane and get to where you need to get to was new. And we put some other things, like I said, in place to help foster that remote working environment. For instance, most people are familiar with Slack, right? That's how we communicate, day in and day out. Along with that, we actually have a virtual office in Gather, which has been really neat. People set up pods with their teams. They decorate their desk. They're able to walk over with their little avatar. It's kind of like The Sims, which is neat. And then what we've also done is, because we go to a lot of events and conferences and whatnot, we have been very strategic about aligning our, we call them company on-sites instead of off-sites, since we all work remote. So we align our company on-sites with various events and conferences that are already occurring, to where we bring the team together and work through whatever problem sets we need to, whether it's, a sales kickoff or product roadmap planning or a leadership on site. In a couple of weeks, we have our executive annual operating plan meeting for FY25. So we take all of that into account and try to plan and align things so that we do see each other on a regular cadence and basis. And then annually, we do one big onsite to kick off the year with the entire organization, which is really fun. And then we do team breakouts and various team bonding activities.
I'm going to be vulnerable. I so love the name onsite.
Yeah.
So what happened? Was that, how did that come about? That's just a great name. Just thinking about
that. It was actually a year ago when we were raising for our Series A. We hadn't come together as a full company. And as we were thinking through what it should be, one of our founders and former CEO, Peter Dixon, was the one who actually came up with the onsite. He's like, since we're all meeting for the first time together, let's call it an onsite instead of an offsite, since we all already work offsite. And I was like, oh, that's great. So it was neat. We all met down in Miami. We did a fun activity with everyone that was there. We surprised everyone with a gift card, and we went to Sunglass Hut, and everyone got to pick out some fun new shades. We had our new board because we had just closed down our A round. So they came in, we did a round table. We talked about, how we're gearing up for FY24, which is what we're in now. So it was really neat to bring everyone together to do a lot of collaborative work. Out of that, we also honed in on what our 4 core values are here at Second Front: mission, curiosity, flexibility, and vigor. So it was neat. We went through, team building exercise, and those were the ones that percolated and seemed to resonate with us the most. We've now aligned those to our employee journey, to our performance reviews, how we run our hiring process. So it's been really neat reflecting on this past year of like what came out of that onsite and how it continued to build upon who we are today and how it's helping enable our evolution and our scalability.
So mention again the company's core values.
Mission, curiosity, flexibility, and vigor.
Now, how many of them are aligned with you personally in terms of your personal core values?
I would say all of them, actually, to be quite honest. I think that's
that was a loaded question, by the way.
Yeah. So I'll break those down though, because I think it's important. Our mission. So half of our company, I'll start here first when speaking to the mission. Half of our company comes from a traditional national security background or military, having served in uniform and or for the government. And then the other half of our company, private sector experience, civilians, right? So what's neat is you have this like 50-50 fusion here at Second Front of individuals who have not only been in close proximity to national security missions because of their past, but individuals now who might not have had that close proximity, but do, like myself, feel as if they are serving their country in a unique way. And so it's that relentless pursuit of wanting to ensure that our warfighters and our allies do in fact have the technologies at hand and available to them for those critical missions. So that was, the most important one that resonated with all of us from the get-go. And so much so, we have not only our onboarding process, but in everyone's 30, 60, 90, everyone has to go through Game Warden 101 and, pitch back what it is that we do and do it from the lens of how they're contributing, right? To helping solve for such a complex problem.
Okay. So that's mission.
That's mission. Curiosity. I mean, Mitchell, I think you know this about me. I'm constantly trying to continue to educate myself on what I don't know, right? The more you know, the more you find out that you don't know, which is scary. But it's that just constant desire to read new things, listen to the new podcasts that are out there, right? Have conversations like you and I are having. And just continuing to be super honest with yourself about what your experiences are, where your limits lie, and how you might continue to challenge yourself personally and professionally by asking questions and by, putting forth additional effort in learning something new. One of the things I do regularly too is I'll hop in, gather, and go hang out with the engineers for a minute. I know nothing about coding, right? But now I'm starting to learn a few different things, what the different languages are, how ChatGPT has helped with code. So it's been really neat to kind of put yourself out there a little bit more. And that's part of our culture is, there's no such thing as a dumb question. And anyone who's asking, it's just, genuine curiosity for wanting to learn more and better understand so that they can too, figure out how to maneuver best for the organization.
And by the way, you know this because we talked about it, but the most important thing you could do as a parent is to instill love and curiosity in your kids.
Right. So yeah, definitely that carries over. I always joke too, it's way harder to negotiate with a 5-year-old than it is a tech executive. So
yes, indeed. All right. So mission, curiosity,
flexibility. We're a startup. We're remote. The world is changing in so many ways, right? So you've got to be flexible here. Nothing has been meant to be set in stone. Everything is meant to be iterated on and to be that much better. Whether it's based on an engagement with a customer or collaborating with a partner or having an expert join the team, right? It's neat because, I'm the longest standing employee here. Right after the 3 founders, I came. So it's been really cool to see the evolution of things that, maybe started out as a PowerPoint deck and now is, a crazy training process and program that's evolved in this thing that I couldn't have ever possibly imagined for the organization. And it's just been a really cool experience. So as people join on the team, we focus on that flexibility and that openness of understanding that, there's always larger dynamics at play and there's evolution to be had. So continuing to run and operate out of the best interest of the organization and assuming that others are doing the same, so that we can be radically candid with one another to ensure that we are, bettering at every step that we can.
All right. And so the fourth
vigor. I mean, you can't really be in defense tech if you don't have that desire and that grit to just keep pushing forward and through the muck of it all, right? It's funny. People are like, oh, what's it like trying to work with the government and selling to them? I was like, it's like any other highly regulated industry. Finance, healthcare, government, they're all the same, right? Like everyone's got bureaucratic hurdles and hoops to jump through. So you just gotta keep going. That persistence. I love this line. I learned it from my Gallo days. Catchy, but still resonates. Persistence beats resistance, right? And if you don't have that mentality of just keep going at it, running through those walls and trying to figure out maybe how to go up through or around whatever it is you come across, and being okay with the failures that obviously come along the way, right? You got to just get back up and keep pressing onward.
It's thank you, by the way, for that.
Of course.
And it's hard. I was trying to come up with an acronym, but it's really hard when you've got all consonants. So I'll think about that a little bit more. The interesting part is I'm thinking about the world today being so virtual, and I'm also thinking about the government being so concerned about security in a virtual environment. And so I guess I can't think of a better firm to actually focus on security and the ability to make sure we maintain the secrets that need to be maintained than a firm that is also virtual. It seems like a big selling point.
It's a big undertaking, that's for sure. But yeah, we're a cybersecurity company, right? But we've got the right folks, both from the public and private sector, to ensure that we are sound, right? That's the most important piece to it all. I mean, we couldn't do all that we do if we weren't.
It's interesting. So what you must have had many times, because we still are of the belief by many people with power and money that you need to actually have a physical location and being there. What's the argument?
I think to challenge that argument is we see each other in person, and we have found a way to ensure that we have that cadence in person for that collaborative alignment or strategery, right? But I mean, for the things that do need to be in a secure location, from the government side of the house, et cetera, those already exist, and the individuals at our organization who need to be there have those clearances to go there. Us creating our own, like, we're not at that juncture. It might not ever be necessarily, right? Because we're not here to like reinvent the wheel, right? We are, yes, creating a new rule book of success for ourselves, but we are more or less kind of piecing together parts that have already existed and have, served us well in some capacity. It's just no one's brought it all together, so to speak.
Yeah, I love that. All right, so moving into your role as COO, how do you interact with your peers and or those above you, those below you?
Yeah. Well, first, as a mom, and unapologetically so, it's fun. I get called mom regularly, right? Everyone comes to me when something's going down, or if someone needs, the right answer. So I just lean into it. I know some folks might not, want to necessarily, other moms out there, but for me, it's endearing. I love it. It's been fun. The other word I get a lot, I'm the protector, right? So I operate with a lot of alacrity across my team, up, down, across, et cetera. But, just constantly trying to look for ways that I can guide the team, preserve the time, champion the efforts that we've got going on, all through the lens of how do we orient one another to ensure that we are setting the conditions for the behaviors of that excellence that we want to live up to through things like our values, through things like the processes, through governance and compliance. So challenging everyone to kind of think through those things a little bit more deeply as they build out their functional teams.
So given that definition, I'm going to do up top and bottom. What is the thing that what is the value you bring to the table that is the most well received? And then, and just so you're ready for it, what is the value you bring to the table that may not be as well received?
So I stay grounded in the needs of the whole organization while simultaneously of the organization and the individual stakeholders, while simultaneously seeing the larger dynamics at play. I think my greatest area of opportunity that maybe isn't well received sometimes when things get a little crazy and there's a lot of movement going on, I try to speed up on the tactical as opposed to maybe slowing down to ensure that we are moving on the strategic properly. We have a saying here, Tyler Sweat, our now CEO, tells a great story about, so he was former Army officer, and when he was serving in Afghanistan and going into a raid of sorts, you don't just go in and start moving around swiftly, shooting, plowing through things, but you got to move slowly and truly assess what it is that's in front of you as, there are actual 3-foot problems as opposed to the 100-foot problem, right? Because you have to solve the 3-foot before you solve the 100. And so the saying that we have is slow is smooth, smooth is fast. So it's something that we've got our stickers on our computers for them. We talk about it regularly at our all hands, which is, another mechanism that we have as a remote company. We do all hands every other week. But yeah, it's a little mantra of ours, and one that I have to constantly remind myself of. Especially as a mom, I've got, the checklist of all the things personally, professionally going on in here. Sometimes I just I just need to get through it. But sometimes we need to, take a breath and remind ourselves that slow is smooth and smooth is fast.
So who keeps you accountable when you maybe push something a little bit too fast?
Too swiftly? Well, the first person who will sense any of it is my director of operations, Christy Marquez. She's been working hand in hand with me for the last 2 years, and she's pretty honest when she sensed something. Chrissy, you need to walk away. Chrissy, slow down. Chrissy, and it's neat. She's like my little conscious voice that will either poke me on Slack or shoot me a text or a phone call. And then from a personal standpoint, it's obviously my husband. We both work from home, so he can hear me on the phone. So if my voice gets louder or tone changes, I'll get little reminders. And then, of course, Tyler, too, my boss, the CEO. We've got a great working relationship. We've known each other for years. So whenever we, bring things to one another, we know it's at the best interest for the individual.
Nice. All right. So we're going to, yeah, you got a few. I love that. So if you're listening or watching, here's what's really cool. There are 10 values of credibility, and you've actually tackled many of them in terms of who you are and how you show up. It's the vulnerability, the external and internal integrity, the authenticity, being coachable, being curious is a great sign of someone who's coachable, having the intent and commitment to do the right thing, showing respect, spreading cred dust. Like when you have sayings, you actually don't say these are your sayings or the company's sayings. which implies that they're yours. You actually give ownership to who owns it. Very powerful stuff. I want to ask two other questions.
Yeah.
And before I ask the second question, I want, for those who are here and they're interested and they want to reach out to you, what is the best way to learn more and to reach out to you?
Yes. So going to LinkedIn and reaching out to me through LinkedIn, post there almost every day, whether it's about things personally or professionally. It's been one of my number one networking tools to get in contact with me, or just emailing me at chrissy@secondfront.com. And then to learn more about the company is going to secondfront.com. Everything's on there. You can learn everything from, what's going on in the organization from a blog post standpoint, whether it's news, our partners, events that we're attending, et cetera. We also have a podcast, All Quiet on the Second Front. That's another great forum to learn more about who we are. Our CEO, Tyler, is our host, and he brings remarkable guests onto the show. And it's consumable. That's like the number one thing I'd like to say about the podcast. National security, defense tech, that can be an intimidating topic, but he makes it so fun and consumable. Like, you don't have to sit there with a notepad or get online and Google what things mean, but rather kind of what you're doing here, Mitchell. You're engaged in the conversation. You feel like you're a part of it. It's not canned. In fact, people will ask Tyler for questions beforehand, and he says, nope, we're going in. We're going to just have a good conversation and get real about the problems that we're looking to solve. So yeah, I would see those are the three ways: LinkedIn, our website, and our podcast.
Nice. Very cool. All right. So is there a particular, based on this conversation, what we were able to cover, is there a question that I should have asked, or a question that you would like me to ask you now?
Yeah. I'm in a space that I never would have anticipated or expected for myself. And I feel deeply for those who might be at a crossroads in their career and not sure where to go or what to do. And I feel like I can speak to it quite candidly because of the mere fact that I was in the beverage industry for about 5.5 years with Red Bull and E&J Gallo Winery. And then I got into tech, but I got into big tech with like Motorola and Salesforce. So for me to jump into defense tech, well, yes, tech, it was a completely different industry and arena that I had never participated in and didn't have any exposure to until 5 years ago. But here I am standing, having this conversation with you, and I am able to say I'm a national security professional, which is wild. So I guess the question is like, how did I do it, or how did I approach it? And I think it was just that curiosity is, I think, the number one thing that resonates the most, and being open to the various opportunities that kind of might fall into your lap. I'm a big believer in doing things outside of your comfort zone and challenging you, because that's where the true growth happens, as opposed to doing the things you know so much about or that you're comfortable with doing. So yeah, I would just encourage people to maybe think outside the box with their careers if they haven't done so already, because man, these past 5 years have been truly amazing. And like I said, that milestone we hit today, I never would have imagined. I mean, I've seen this company through bootstrap, seed, A, and now B. And as employee one after the founders, and now we're hitting over 100. It's pretty remarkable to witness, and just a testament to the individuals I've been exposed to, and kind of taking a leap of faith and having trust and belief in others, in their expertise and what they have to offer.
I love that. Well, thank you for sharing. Great question and good response. Appreciate that. And
for you, try to make it easy.
well, it to me, when I listen to you, curiosity, clarity on who you are and how you show up, and then how the organization works together is powerful. Listen, I'm going to say thank you. Thank you so much for joining us today. I want to those who are listening and watching, this is now your time. We're going to do another C word to spread some cred dust. So pick the aha moments that were exciting to you. Share those on whatever platform that you're listening or paying attention to this to, and click on the like. Share with your friends. Let other people know about this, because this is a fellow human who's done a great job of navigating life so far, and her and her company are doing amazing things. And I just want to, I'll share one other thing we do once a month. We focus on a clarity workshop. We call it a credibility booster, but there's 90 minutes. And if you want to be able to articulate who you are and how you show up, it is a credibility booster that we give once a month. We've got one coming up this week. Although depending on when you watch it, it may be at some other periodicity in terms of point in time. Love to have you there. I'll make sure I put the link in the show notes. And you could always, once again, go to mitchelllevy.com and you can get a link to it there. Chrissy, thank you once again. And I want to thank everyone else for showing up and being part of this series. Thanks again, everyone. Take care. See you next time.
Thank you, Mitchell.
Oh, you're welcome.